Today I'm going to finally answer the question that so many of you have been asking me. I can't believe how many times I go to my Instagram and I have DMs from so many people that say, what do you think about nootropics? What do you think about nootropics? Have you tried nootropics? And I finally did. Okay. I had tried them a little bit in the past, but I finally found some nootropics that were working for me. I was so excited that I wanted to actually bring on one of the founders of this company. It's called Formula, and they're doing a really unique approach. And Dan has a huge amount of experience here with nootropics, and I wanted to kind of share a little bit of my experience with it, but really to get Dan to talk about why nootropics don't work for most people, like what they're doing wrong, essentially. So we're going to be talking about in this video 5 of the biggest reasons why nootropics aren't working for you. So really cool stuff. So welcome, Dan.
Thanks, John.
So Dan, maybe before we jump into the 5 ways that people are why nootropics aren't working for them and what they're doing wrong, maybe if you want to give like a little bit of a background of your story, because I think your story was pretty interesting. We were talking about this the other day, and and I think you've got kind of a unique experience with nootropics.
Sure. So I've always had a lot of difficulty focusing and staying on task, ever since I remember as a little kid. And that was a huge problem for school. I wasn't able to complete assignments on time. I was constantly procrastinating. And I actually never passed the 10th grade. When I was 16, I ended up dropping out of school. I was failing all my classes. And I went to work in fast food. So I made sandwiches at Subway for a couple of years, and then worked my way up in culinary and became a chef, and ended up traveling the world. And I was really successful as a chef, and it requires a very different type of focus than academics. It was just easy for me to pick up, and I was really passionate about it too, so that helped. And then in my late 20s, I was managing large staffs of people. I wasn't really cooking that much anymore. And I decided I wanted to switch to a different industry. But, not having a high school diploma or any college experience, I didn't even go to culinary school. It was really difficult to get my foot in the door at the types of companies that I wanted to work for. So I started talking to colleges, and it didn't make sense for me to go do a 4-year degree and get out and get an entry-level job where I'd be making less than half of what I was making as a chef.
Right.
So, I was really lucky. I found one college in the UK. It was a 3rd-tier school, and they interviewed me. And they said, based on your life experience and your management capabilities, we're willing to accept you into our program without having to go back and do high school and an undergrad. But you have to score a 650, which is 80th percentile on the admissions test, the GMAT.
Okay.
And, I had no idea what the GMAT was. So I got a study book, and I sat down, I tried studying, and I took a couple practice tests, and I scored horribly. I never had any exposure to high-level math, and all of the problems I had when I was a kid in school, they came right back. I wasn't able to focus. I wasn't able to retain the information. The test is something like 4 hours long, and I just couldn't sit still and function for that amount of time. So that's when I had used nootropics and different biohacks as a chef, and I started really getting into them, along with meditation, different exercise routines, and eating a healthy diet. And before I knew it, after some experimentation, my scores went up. I was able to focus longer. I was completing tests, and I went from scoring 500 to 550, 600. And when I actually went in and took the test, I scored the 99th percentile.
Wow. Now, what was the change that had made that happen? Because you took the practice test, you bombed it. What would you attribute caused you to be able to score in the? That's a big difference to go from bombing it to the 99th percentile.
Yeah, and in a surprisingly short amount of time. So I don't want to frame nootropics as a magic pill,
Hmm.
but I can remember, I would be studying reading comprehension, and I would read the same page over 3 times, and I just couldn't answer the questions. It wasn't a problem with my intelligence. It was just the ability to function and to get into that deep level of flow and focus. And certain nootropics, it's almost like a light switch for me, where I was able to, read it really quick. I knew exactly what was going on. I could instantly comprehend it. My cognitive processing speed was incredible. It was a night and day difference.
Okay, so you figured out kind of the ones that specifically worked there, and so would you say? I mean, were as a kid were you diagnosed with ADHD? And I'm asking because like I know a lot of people that I've talked to in my audience, basically would identify or they've been diagnosed with ADHD. I was diagnosed as a kid. I have mixed thoughts on whether or not it really exists. Like, I feel like there's definitely personality characteristics that would be grouped into that. But regardless, there's definitely like what you've described is like sitting down, trying to focus, trying to pay, like rereading things, like all of this stuff is things that I have suffered from and did suffer from, and I had to figure out how to like become super disciplined and like to overcome that. And so I didn't, I never had something that actually really worked besides just like building my own kind of like discipline and willpower. So is that, what do you think? Like, or did you have that same experience? Were you ADHD?
Yeah. So I can remember the school sending me out, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but I had to speak with somebody, and my parents didn't want to give me medication, so I was never on Ritalin or Adderall as a child. I don't know. I still have mixed feelings on whether or not I should have been. Who knows how life would have turned out? But in general, like one of the things that I found, and this is something that's really difficult for people who don't have this to understand, it's not something that you can just brute force. So I was highly motivated to sit down and study. I wanted to pass this test. I wanted to change my life, and I just couldn't. I couldn't force my brain to do it. And when I say that I would read the same page over 5 times, I would force myself to do it, and I would force myself to study longer, and I wasn't getting any extra benefits from it. And that's when I decided, okay, instead of just trying to brute force this, let me see what other changes I can make in my lifestyle and my habits, and see how that would improve this.
Right, exactly. Yep. I came to a very similar type of conclusion. Like, I didn't experiment with the nootropics. I didn't realize that was an option, but I had to end up just like a lot of when I really became physically fit and had the physical discipline that helped me when I started doing a lot of a lot of different lifestyle changes that practicing Stoic philosophy that also really was able to make those changes. But specifically with this test, did you find like there was a specific chemical, a specific nootropic that you were using that was giving you this clarity to be able to get that boost in that reading comprehension? Like, did you experiment with a few different things? What?
Yeah. And so what's difficult when I get asked this question a lot, just tell me what you took, give it to me,
Right.
so I can get the same thing.
Exactly. That's what everyone's wondering right now.
But the thing is, it just doesn't work like that. If it did, this would be a lot easier, but everybody's brain chemistry and their genetics are different. So what I respond to doesn't mean that you're going to respond in the same way. And that's, behind that's what created our company formula, where we personalize the nootropics, the ingredients, and take a highly targeted approach to help people reach peak performance.
Okay, so that's probably good. Let's talk about that then. Let's talk about the five, the reasons why nootropics aren't working for people, because what they're doing wrong. Because again, I had that same the experience. It wasn't really working for me, but you know, just for everyone listening, background here. So Dan and his team sent me an email and it's like, hey, we really want you to try our product. We've been watching your YouTube videos, and you know, I was basically like, okay, come on, like another, you know, company want to send me some stuff. Like I've tried nootropics before. This is like, all right, fine, send it to me, whatever. You know, I'm not making any promises that I'll ever promote this or anything, but I'll try it out and we'll see, you know. And so, you know, I got it, and then I tried it, and I was like, the very first day, I was like, whoa. And then I thought, okay, placebo effect. Okay. So the second day I tried it again, and I was like, whoa. And now I'm like taking it every single day. And it's working in different ones. I can tell the effects. So just to give you guys the backstory. And so what ended up happening was I said, okay, well, you know what, let's figure out some way. Like I'm interested now because people are asking me about this. I've got something that actually works. I'll promote it. Yes. Let's do this. Let's do, whether we do an affiliate deal or something like that. And so yeah, so that's where we arrived at today. I'm even potentially considering investing in the company because I believe in the product so much at this point. So anyway, that's the backstory so that you guys that are watching this know exactly what's going on here, because I want to be very transparent with everything that's happening, especially around a supplement. So but with that said, what's the number one thing that people are doing wrong, Dan?
So the story that you just said about how you tried a bunch of different nootropics and you thought that they were bullshit. A lot of people have that opinion. And it's basically, there's a couple of reasons behind that. One is a lot of the other companies take this approach where, okay, nootropics, let me frame this another way. The question that people usually ask is, do nootropics work?
Right.
The question that they should ask is, which nootropics work for me?
Okay. Right. Okay.
So a lot of people, they'll try one or two nootropics. Sometimes it works. They're lucky they got the right one. A lot of times it doesn't. And then they just write it all off because a lot of the other companies in the space, they say, you know, take this pill and you're going to get X, Y, Z benefits. And it just doesn't work like that. And, you know, a lot of the other companies, they understand that not everybody's going to respond the same way. So they take the approach of, let's just fit as many different ingredients as we can into a pill and hope one or two of them work.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I see a lot of companies doing. And it's great advertising. They're like, our 72 or 50 proprietary blended ingredients are going to give you this. When you do that, it's like the completely wrong approach because the dosages aren't going to be correct. It's not targeted. It's just like blunt force. It would be almost like if I had a headache and somebody offered me, I'm going to give you a quarter of a pill of Tylenol, a quarter of an Advil, a quarter of, like, it just makes no sense at all because you're not going to get any real benefits.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So then the first issue is that they're not getting the right, they're not getting the specific ones that they're not tailoring it. Is that what
yeah? So I would
yeah.
say the biggest one is people don't spend enough time trying different ingredients to find what works for them, and
yeah,
that's something that it does take an investment of time to try a bunch of different things.
Sure,
our company makes it easy, and we also have a data set that we can tell you where to start with that process, so you don't have to go out and try everything out there. But I would say that that's the number one big mistake, that people just aren't testing things methodically to see what actually impacts them.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's, yeah, I'm guilty of that. I did not, I just, you know, tried different ones and it just, I mean, and they were the same thing, you know, it wasn't customized at all. So I said, oh, well, this doesn't work. And so I said, oh, nootropics don't work, until I got what you guys sent me, and then I was like, okay, wow, there's something different here. So okay, so that's number one, is that they're not testing it out, trying different things. What about number two? Why else would you say that it's not working for people?
So the other thing is you need specific nootropics for specific tasks.
Okay.
So there's not a daily, there are some things that you can take every day that are just going to be beneficial. So like Bacopa is one of them. It's very well known, where they have long-term improvements. Mm-hmm. But these aren't like vitamins. So these are specifically targeted to modulate your neurotransmitters for a specific purpose. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about studying for the GMAT has two sections. There's a quant section, and then there's a verbal section. So for the quantitative parts, you're doing complex math, combinatorics, permutations. You're using a different part of your brain, and it's a different type of focus that's needed for that. Whereas, for verbal, where you're doing sentence correction and different grammar things, reading comprehension, that's a different part of your brain. It's a different task, and you need different ingredients for that. So I think a lot of people, they just expect, okay, I'm going to take this and function at my best, where they should be thinking, okay, how can I, the way I do it for, optimal performance is I schedule my week, where one day I'm going to be doing, all of our finances. I'm going to be optimizing our ad campaigns. If I have to do any coding, it's on that day. And it's a very logical day. It's something where I need to get into a specific type of focus and flow state to work quickly and efficiently. And that's a specific set of ingredients that'll help me do that. Whereas other days, I'm doing podcasts, I'm writing blog posts or doing interviews, and that's a very different state of mind that I want to be in.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I've got actually the logic one. I don't know if it's hard to focus on the camera, but here, and then there we go, and then the creativity, and I definitely noticed the difference. Yeah, and I was trying to think about what tasks I'm doing, which I never thought about before, right? Because I think most of the nootropics I'd seen before, they're like, okay, just take this. It's almost like they're like that movie Limitless, and they're like, okay, if you just take this, everything will be better. And that was not my experience at all. So that makes a lot of sense. I think I had never heard that before. I think probably the hardcore biohackers probably know that, but for the average Joe that just wants to get some mental performance or to perform better and be more productive, I'm at least, I mean, I hadn't heard of using specific ones for specific tasks. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then I would say the next thing, the big mistake people get, which is also related to this, is they don't properly cycle.
Okay.
So a lot of these things you don't want to take. There's some that you can and should take daily, but there's others. For example, the phenylpiracetam. It's one of our most popular ingredients. It's in our energy formula.
Oh, okay. Yep.
You shouldn't take that every day. It's something that you need to cycle with other nootropics. Because if you take it every day, it's not addictive, so it's not like you're going to go through withdrawals when you stop. It's just not going to be as effective.
Okay. It's like caffeine. Like if you take caffeine continually, it starts to lose its the effect, or?
It's very similar. So caffeine is addictive, and it builds a tolerance in a different way than phenylpiracetam does. But
okay.
The general overall for people to easily understand, yes, you should cycle it. And if you use it every day, it's not that it's bad for your body. It's just that you're not going to be as effective.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So if you're taking just one nootropic, like the magic pill, and you're not, then you're not cycling, you're just taking it every day, and you're going to start to lose the effectiveness of it, and it's not going to be the best thing. So that would make sense why people aren't seeing results, because they would see the results initially and then they would drop off because they haven't cycled in. They don't have the knowledge to know how to cycle it, or which things need to be cycled.
Exactly.
Okay. What about the fourth one?
So I think the reason why there's some people that they get a nootropic that's working for a while and then all of a sudden they think it's not working, is the placebo effect.
Okay.
So you mentioned that already, where you took it once and you thought, hey, maybe this is the placebo effect. The placebo effect is real and it affects everyone. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It's a cognitive bias that all humans have. And if you look at clinical trials, they purposely have a placebo and they have statistical methods to minimize this effect.
Right.
What we do, and this is the way I started this company, was I sat down and I had all of these nootropics, and I'd already been using them for quite some time. I knew that some of them worked. I knew a lot about nootropics, and I said, look, I really want to find out. I want to eliminate the placebo effect, and I want to know what's actually going to have a measurable impact on my life. Mm-hmm. So I went to my co-founder and I said, here's everything. I want you to take the pills, put them in different bags so I have no idea what is what, mm-hmm. and label it each day that I'm supposed to take it. And so I would just get a bag that says day 1. And I wake up and I take it. And I hooked up a lot of different productivity apps to my phone and to my laptop, and I kept detailed notes and journals of how I felt.
Yeah, okay.
And, the whole thing was, if these things are working, I should see a measurable impact on my life. And so I did this for months. And at the end of a few months, I went and I looked at the data and I said, okay, I took phenylpiracetam 10 times on these days. I had no idea that that's what I was taking. And, my typing speed was faster. The amount of emails I sent, the amount of, I'd measure productivity in Pomodoros often.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, I'm knocking out more Pomodoros. My subjective ratings for mood are much higher. And that was a huge eye opener, just seeing, having, clinical trial methods applied to my own testing process, the N of 1 trial. That was huge. And out of that, I came up with, this specific ingredient is going to produce this effect. And it's been proven to do that based off of my data.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I like that approach. And that's pretty hard to argue with if if you don't know what you're taking and then you can correlate those results to what you're seeing in your actual daily life. Okay. So a lot of people then they're suffering from the placebo effect, and so they're not getting accurate data. So they don't actually know what's working because they're not controlling for that.
Yeah, and it's the curse of knowledge, where it's usually the people that are more knowledgeable that get it. So mm-hmm. somebody who goes online and they read 20 nootropics articles, then they convince themselves, hey, this ingredient works for this. Right. And they take it, and they might not respond the same way as other people. And even when you look at clinical trials, not everybody responds the same to a drug. Right. Yeah, and so for the first 2 years of our company, we sent all of our customers through this process. The same process that I described. It was compressed down to a month, but every day they would take a different nootropic. Most of them chose not to know which nootropic they were taking. Right. And then they answered questions in a survey. We analyzed their own data at the end of the month, and we told them which ingredients they said worked for them.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So it's customized. So you've got all this data as well from the aggregate from all these different people. So you have a pretty good idea of what is going to work for a person based on certain attributes.
Yeah. So now we have currently the world's largest data set on the efficacy of nootropics, much larger than anything that even the clinical trials have done. And we're just now at the point where we can say, for a man between the ages of 25 and 35 who reports these measures for energy, productivity, mood. We have a survey on our website that asks a bunch of different questions. We can then put that person into a cluster. We can see how many people similar to them have gone through this completely, this very robust trial. And we can say, okay, these, 2 or 3 different formulas have the highest probability of being effective for somebody like you with your goals.
Okay. Kind of like Netflix or Amazon recommending you
Exactly.
what, based on other people, because they have a pretty good idea of it, because they know that they have enough data points, they have enough people that are like you that and have liked what you like, that it's a pretty good prediction.
Yeah, and it gets more and more accurate as we get more data. But after 2 years, it's more accurate than anything else that I've seen. And on our team, we brought on a award-winning data scientist from Stanford. Our chief scientific advisor is an MD PhD. He was one of my colleagues at Yale, and he not only does he have neuroscience expertise, but he also has bioinformatics and data science expertise to help us build that recommendation engine.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's good. That makes a lot of sense. That I was wondering how you could send me stuff and then know that it's going to work, for me, and to be able to label them, and so it's a combination, it seems, of not only realizing that it's specific. Nootropics are going to work for specific functionalities or specific things that you're trying to do, but also that even within the individual, that is going to be different to some degree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people vary, based off of their genetics, their diet, their daily activities. You wouldn't want to take the same thing as, a 60-year-old woman, because your body and your brain's just different. You wouldn't respond the same way.
Well, I might want to write some, mystery murder novels. So, okay. So, all right. So, what about the fifth one? What's the final mistake that people are making, that making nootropics not work for them?
Not optimizing the rest of their lifestyle.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people, they expect to just take a nootropic and, everything's going to change. It just doesn't work like that. So like you've seen, you get a huge impact, but to really make dramatic change, and I'm talking about like transformative change, you need to incorporate other things like exercise, healthy diet. I do meditation. There's a lot of other biohacks that, combined with nootropics, can have a profound effect on someone.
Okay. Yeah, I agree that makes a lot of sense. You've got to have those pieces, and you've mentioned some of the things. I know you just talked about using the Pomodoro technique. I use the Pomodoro technique. I measure my productivity in Pomodoros that I get done. In fact, I schedule my whole week based on that, and that was one of those things. It's like I can measure it, but if I don't have a system like that, then I'm gonna lose a lot of the effectiveness. Even if I'm thinking more clearly, even if my brain is processing faster and I have more focus, if I don't have a system, it doesn't matter. Now I'm going to be really good at focusing on the wrong thing on Facebook posts. Instead of, right. Yeah. It's like, so that makes sense. And then I mean, just even before I had tried the nootropics, the fitness side, like I said, the meditation, those were things that helped me as well. So you feel like those things are important because they enhance that effect. You've got your brain is more in a position to utilize those other activities. How do you kind of attribute that to working with the nootropics? Or why are people making this mistake? Why are they not getting the results? What is kind of that connection there?
So a lot of the other biohacks that we mentioned are probably going to be more impactful than nootropics. And I can be very transparent and honest about that. Like for me, exercising and staying healthy has a much greater positive impact on my life than the nootropics I'm taking.
Yep.
But And I can tell you, you know, as an entrepreneur, I work a lot, and sometimes I don't make it to the gym. A lot of times I end up not making it to the gym. And I realized, you know, I got to this point about 2 years ago where I was probably the most unhealthy I've been in my life. And I said, you know, I'm going to commit to going to the gym. I'm not going to miss it no matter what. The only way that I could make that commitment was to wake up at, you know, 5 in the morning. And this was in the middle of winter in New York. So it's snowing out. It's really dark. And I was working long days and go to the gym. I was only able to keep that commitment because of nootropics. I had tried doing this many, many times and failed. You know, I would just hit the snooze, something would come up. And this time I took my workout energy stack and I put the packet next to my bed. And I would go to the gym 3 days a week. And so as soon as I woke up, before I even got out of bed, I would open that packet, I would take the pills, and I knew I wasn't going to hit snooze. I knew I wasn't going to go back to sleep. And it gave me the motivation, and it got me into the right mindset that in 3 months of doing that, I didn't miss the gym once. And then I didn't even need the nootropics in the morning anymore, because it was just such I developed that habit. And discipline. And I was getting the benefits of exercising, you know, having my endorphins in the morning, that it was just kind of automatic. But I wouldn't have been able to keep up if it wasn't for nootropics.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And I like how you emphasize that, like developing the habit after you had use the nootropics to basically help you to be able to get the momentum. And then once you had the momentum, you built the habit, and then you don't even need the nootropics in order to do that anymore, which goes back to what you said about it, the lifestyle being the more effective thing than the nootropics themselves. The nootropics are like an enhancement, but if you're doing something wrong, it's like marketing a bad product. Like if you have a bad product, increasing marketing dollars is the stupidest thing you can do, because you're just magnifying the the wrong things you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So guys, if you're interested in what Dan's doing in this new, in what they're doing is specifically to customize the nootropics, I've got a special 20% off discount that Dan has offered to everyone in the Bulldog Mindset family here. So we'll put a link in the description. We'll also put a link in the cards, so you can go check that out. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer. Like I said, I was like, the funny thing is like, I got so excited about this because I was such a skeptic, and and I'm generally skeptical of most of this stuff. But then when I tried it, and I was like, wow, like measurable difference in my productivity, which is already usually pretty dang high. I said, wow, I can finally, give you guys the answer. Because a lot of you have been asking me for a long time about nootropics, and I don't want to recommend something because I felt like they didn't work. But now that I actually have something that's working, I'm pretty excited about this and stuff. And I really like also just the way that they're customizing the formula, or like I said, for different based on who you are, but also on the different functionality. And I can see the difference between the different ones. I've got 4 different ones here that I've tried, and each one of them I've gotten different kinds of results. Like I remember, in fact, like with the energy one, with you said that had the what is it, phenyl. Yeah, phenyl. Okay, I can't say it, but I had just the other night, I did not sleep very well. I went to bed late and I woke up early, and I took this, and I was pretty groggy before, and I even had my coffee, but I had I had amazing energy. But I could see also that I wouldn't want to do, like, that would not be a good way to live. Like, you would not want to be, have very little sleep and just rely on, but for the emergency, like, okay, I screwed up last night, let me take this, and it gave me the boost that I needed to have the energy to get through the day, and to actually make it a super productive day. So that was really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I forget exactly which blends you have. I think you have the Clarity. That's also one of my favorites. That's actually the ingredients from that formula are used by astronauts on the International Space Station. When they do long spacewalks, it helps with focus, especially under stress.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have, we're launching more and more formulas based off of our data set. Right now we have 12. And we hope, in the next few months, we're going to launch the sleep formula and then ones for even more targeted functions.
Okay. Yeah. The Clarity, I think this one is my favorite as a general kind of purpose one, because I find that and it's aptly named, because what I'll find, I call it like the Friday brain fog. Is Friday, I'm supposed to be done with my work, and I just like I have so much stuff in my head that like all these unfinished loops and stuff, and like I feel like I'm just in this fog. And then but as I've been taking this, I noticed that that's not happening, that I'm having that actual clarity, and this stuff is getting resolved. I'm able to like leave the work. I'm able to feel like I've closed the book on things. I don't know how to describe it, but it's definitely something I struggled with for a long time, and I thought there was just I kept on trying different solutions and I couldn't crack it, but this seems to work pretty well for that.
Yeah, that makes me so happy to hear. We get thank you letters and testimonials coming in all the time, and it's like that's what keeps me going. When I think about where I would be if I hadn't persisted and discovered the right nootropics, the right biohacks, I might still be making sandwiches at Subway. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
it was so transformative, and it's amazing to be able to share it with people.
Now tell me, I got a question here. So on specific, so let's say that let's say for social situations, let's say I can also think of this as recording videos. So two kind of scenarios, maybe they're the same scenario. In my mind, they're probably similar. Is let's say that I was going to go out and talk to people, right? So a lot of people use like alcohol as a crutch, right, for a social lubricant. And even maybe recording videos, right, to do anything that's going to be kind of needing to be able to speak and be able to talk to people and whatnot. Is there a specific nootropic or formula that would work for that?
Yeah, so the one that people are using now that we have is the creativity formula, and it has aniracetam, which is great for verbal fluency, social anxiety, for doing podcasts. That's what I usually take. Um, there's a couple of other ingredients. So we have L-theanine that we put in a couple of our formulas that affects the GABA system, which reduces anxiety, especially under stressful situations, just kind of relaxes you. We don't have a specific blend that is just targeted to anxiety. There's a number of different nootropics out there with different degrees of safety, depending on what you're going for. But that's something we're working on too.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, creative. So then, now, what about the lifespan of these? So if I take, usually I end up taking one in the morning, but can I take multiple ones throughout the day? Can I take one in the morning, and let's say that I'm going out at night and I want to be more verbally fluent? Can I take the creativity later on? Is there sort of a limit on how I should do this, or what I would expect the lifespan? Like if I take it, how long will it last? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so the half-life on most of those is relatively short. They usually last about 6 to 8 hours, depending on the person and the different metabolism.
Okay.
I take 2 packs a day, and I mix them up. So sometimes I'll have, if I don't sleep well, I'll take an energy in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll take a clarity. You can take up to 2 packs a day. We generally recommend that you separate them by at least 4 hours.
Sure.
And yeah, and so I take them 6 days a week, 1 to 2 packs a day. Some people choose to do less. You don't need to take them every day to get benefits. And some people choose to do almost every day.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that clears up that question. And what do you think about the safety of these. Right. So I think a lot of people would probably be concerned about, is this something that you could that is going to have a negative effect in the long run potentially? Like, are you trading something here to get these benefits?
So that's a huge concern. Before we launch an ingredient, we do an in-house systematic review.
Hmm.
So most of the ingredients have gone through phase 3 clinical trials. Well, all of the ingredients have either gone through phase 3 clinical trials or they're approved by the FDA and generally regarded as safe.
Hmm.
So we do our own systematic review with our scientific team, and we look at, what were the adverse events, what were the dosages, what were the long-term effects, and we compile kind of, a review for each one. We're going to be publishing them on the website soon, so we can open it up to everybody and they can look through the different clinical trial data sets. They're incredibly safe. I've been using them for years.
Okay.
We don't sell anything that's addictive except for caffeine.
Right. Yeah.
We took the stance as a company, like we're looking for long-term improvements, not just a short-term high almost, a long-term negative effect. We only put caffeine in because so many people asked us. They're like, look, nootropics are amazing. They replaced my morning coffee, but I still kind of want a little bit of caffeine. Can you put it in there? But we also offer every single formula with or without caffeine. It's up to the customers to decide.
Oh, interesting. That's a pretty cool option as well, because I know a lot of people are on the no caffeine kick, and that would be a good experiment too, to test it, to see, because a lot of people, to see the difference between, like, I'm not a very big responder to caffeine. Like, I can drink coffee before I go to bed and I'm just sleep. Like, caffeine does not wake me up. It's, but I know a lot of people, they live and die. Like, I never understood it, but they're like, oh, I need a cup of coffee and now I'm ready to go. And so it'd be kind of interesting to experiment to see, okay, does caffeine affect you as much, right? To try it with or without, and to see the effects of the nootropic without the caffeine for people that really are big responders to caffeine.
So we actually blind tested all of our competitors.
Okay.
And it was the question that you said where, it's like, just tell me what works. So I wanted to see, not just based off of reading their ingredients, but actually see what their formulas did to people. And so me and a bunch of my friends and our team blind tested them in the same way. And we controlled for caffeine. So
Okay.
a lot of the nootropics on the market, they're not even available caffeine free, and they have high dosages of caffeine. So whatever amount of caffeine it had, we would do a placebo with the same exact amount of caffeine. Very, very few of them actually performed better than the placebo.
Oh, wow. Okay. So so caffeine was the thing that was likely being the thing that was actually making them effective, if they're effective.
For most of the formulas out there, yes. There are some good ones. I'm not going to completely bash our competitors, but
Yeah.
I had that same question as you. I was really curious, and we did that test, and the results were pretty surprising.
And I think one of the big things, so, a lot of people probably try to put this stuff together for themselves, right? I mean, more of the hardcore biohackers, like, you can research and you can look it up and say, okay, well, what chemicals and, what can you do? But one of the big things that because I take supplements for, just vitamins and stuff, and I didn't realize, like, the amazing problem that you have with buying things off of Amazon and not knowing what the source is, and are you actually even getting what you paid for, especially when you look for the cheapest thing. So how do you make sure that, how does someone know that they're getting exactly those things and not something else? And how do you make sure that that you're getting it with the stuff that you're sourcing?
Great question. So we're very transparent with our supply chain. On our website, we have links to third-party lab tests. So it's all tested using a variety of different laboratory tests for purity. And we publish those. So you can see, the graphs about how pure each one of our ingredients is. we only source our ingredients from suppliers in the US. It just makes things so much easier. And having those protocols in place, it took us a long time to develop relationships with some of the best manufacturers and laboratories in the US. But that's a huge concern. And I know that there's a lot of, shady companies out there on Amazon. It's sad. And for me, I think, the nootropics industry in general, there's a few things that are hurting it. One is that, people get ripped off. They see one scammy company and they think, oh, everything's a scam, and they just miss out on all these great benefits because of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's something that I kind of discovered as I was, when I look at stuff now, is I pay attention to that. Like, I'd rather pay a lot more money and be getting, know what I'm getting than, even I heard recently there was some, a big famous kind of supplement company in the bodybuilding industry. What they were doing was they were just putting a little bit of oral steroids in their supplement, and it's so cheap. They could, it's like, you're like, oh yeah, you're actually getting something better than what they're promising you. Yeah, but what they're doing is they're making you think that their proprietary blend is actually effective when it's not. It's a steroid that's in there. So, and you don't want to be taking steroids if you're not intending to, especially with the liver damage that it can cause from oral steroids. So but yeah, so it's really important. I think a lot of people just assume that when they buy something on Amazon and it says it has this, that it has it. And, that's not the case.
Yeah. And again, that's really sad. There were nootropics companies that were putting in things like, amphetamine precursors. There was one company where people actually went to jail because of that. And I really hope that, this move towards transparency. So we're not the only company that's doing third-party lab testing and putting it up on our website. I'm hoping more and more companies will do that, and people, maybe you're going to save 20 cents by buying it from some no-name company, but you really don't know what's in the pill.
Yeah. So, okay. So that begs the other question I get, and this is something that I'm pretty opposed to. I want to kind of get your take on this. I don't like crutches. I don't like alcohol as a social lubricant. I don't consider nootropics to be a crutch because they're like natural type of ingredients, because it's not an actual like addictive drug. But there's a lot of people that when I've done videos and I've talked about ADHD or focusing, or, a lot of the stuff I talk about having the Bulldog mindset, they say, well, I just take, shoot, I forgot the name of it now. Basically speed. What are they given for?
Ritalin, methylphenidate, Adderall.
And there's another one that's really, Adderall is one of them. There's one that starts with an M that's really, really popular.
Methylphenidate.
Think that might be it. So these things are actual real drugs. And my understanding is most of these things work just like speed. That's basically what they are, is they're amphetamines that are, the same thing that is someone who's taking speed. And so they work, but at a heavy, heavy cost to you. And I would consider something like that to be a crutch, because you're not really actually developing yourself as a person and actually overcoming your struggles. You're using something that's giving you this temporary result that you can't replicate. What's your thoughts on that? And like, why, is it, first of all, should people be taking that stuff? Is it actually harmless? Am I wrong here? And why would nootropics be a better alternative? What's kind of your feel on this?
So, and again, these are just my thoughts. I look at it a little bit differently. So first, to methylphenidate and all the amphetamine type drugs. I'm not against them. I don't think that they should be taken every day. I don't look at them as a crutch, and I don't see them as a nootropic either.
Okay.
What you're really doing is you're borrowing energy from the future.
Okay. Just like when people say when you go out drinking, you're taking tomorrow. You're barring
Yeah.
from tomorrow, right? Okay.
And, and there's a lot of use cases where that's completely fine. You know, people who have
Okay.
a deadline or they want to cram for something. I think that there are specific use cases where I could see people using that to accomplish those goals.
Hmm.
You just have to understand that you're going to have to pay that back. So that energy you're borrowing, you're going to crash.
Hmm.
Um, and where people, I've seen a lot of people get into trouble, and we have people calling in that completely messed up their lives, and they're trying to get off of these. It's they keep taking them, and they compound the effect. So they don't want to
Ah,
pay back that debt, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it becomes a crutch, and they can't even function normally without having it. I think that that's a horrible place to be in, and yeah, so that's my opinion on that. And then what was the other thing? Just as far as being a crutch in general, nootropics. I don't look at it as a crutch. I'm trying to think. What's the opposite? Maybe like a pogo stick. Uh,
yeah.
Something like when I talked about um, me developing that gym habit. If you
Yeah.
look at how people change behavior and how they modify things, it's really really difficult in the beginning, and this just gave me that extra little boost
Hmm.
to help me develop the right habits. I was still doing it. It was still really hard. It's just in the beginning, it made it so that it was a little bit more within my reach. Um, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's why also I would consider, like I said, I would consider these to not be a crutch. I would consider taking like a taking a actual illegal drug that, like you said, where you're borrowing time from the next day to be a crutch, because you become dependent and you can't actually function on it. Whereas like your example I thought was great is because you're like, okay, well, I took the workout stack. I was able to get up in the morning. I was able to go and develop the habit, and then I didn't need it anymore. So, I mean, that's in my mind, that is the definition of something that shows it's not a crutch. And it's the same thing that, alcohol, for a lot of people, they use it as a crutch, but it doesn't have to be a crutch. Like if you need alcohol in order to go and talk to people, and without alcohol you can't, then it's a crutch because you need it every
Exactly.
time. But if you are able to go and be social and go and, for a lot of guys in my audience, go and talk to girls and whatnot, and you can do that without alcohol, then you can have alcohol. It's fine. If you want to go out and have a couple of drinks, it's fine, because that you're not using it as a crutch. You're just using it to maybe it even enhances your ability to some degree, but it's fine because you don't absolutely, you're not using it as a substitute for personal growth.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Well, cool. I think, that's good to hear. And I'm glad that there's this option out there. So guys, again, like I said, I've been fully transparent with you guys, what happened, the whole story of how I got involved with this company that I'm using it myself. And, and I've wanted something to recommend, and now I do. So you guys, if you want to check it out, and I suggest that you do, definitely, at least experiment and see how this works for you. Special 20% off discount that Dan has been gracious to give to all of you. Go check it out. The link will be in the description and in the card. And yeah, and I'm excited to hear your guys' results. Definitely let me know, and let me know how it's working out for you. And yeah, thanks Dan for joining, and for sending me for reaching out and getting me to try this, because I feel like there's very few things that have made like this much of an impact on my life. I'm already like super productive as a person, but like to be able to have that extra little edge, I feel like it's just awesome. So
That's amazing, and it's just going to keep getting better.
awesome. All right, Dan. Well, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Okay. Bye.